Alright, today is about rate of change and slope. What you need to know about the rate of change, okay, it's the change in y over the change in x. So the change in the horizontal, or vertical, sorry, over the change in the horizontal. Okay, so up or down, over, left or right. Any questions on that? So use the table to find the rate of change. They give us the number of computer games versus the total cost. The number of computer games is going to be my x. My total cost is my y. So I need to find the change in cost, or the change in y, okay, over the change in x, which would be the change in number of games. So what you do is you can pick any of these two ordered pairs, right? 2 and 78 or 4 and 1, you just pick 2, okay? So I'm going to go with 156 minus 78. If I go with 156 as my first y, what do I have to go with as my first x? 4, the number that it goes with, okay? And I'm going to subtract what? 2, okay? Now this one works out, but in other cases, if you went 156, and then went 6 minus 4, okay, this one works out. In other cases, it won't, okay, because this is in a linear fashion. It goes accordingly. Okay, it's proportional. In other cases, it may not be that way. So you have to always keep. If I do 156, I have to do 4. If I do 78, I have to do 2. Okay, I could have done 234 minus 156. Okay, but then I'd have to do 6 minus 4 on bottom. So 156 minus 78 is 78. 4 minus 2 is 2. Right, which reduces down to 39 over 1, which means that each game costs $39. Okay, so the more games I get, the more it costs me. Right? 39 for each game I add to that. Make sense? Right, so that's my rate of change. Alright, write this down. This is slope. Right, it's rise over run. This is the formula to find slope, which is, we define slope as m. That's the variable we will use all year long. When I'm talking about slope, I will represent it using m. Alright, so remember, slope is defined as m. Okay, to find m, to find the rise, we take y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Right? So the second coordinate, or the second y, minus the first y over the second x minus the first x. Alright, so just read this. Remember, slope is always defined as rise over run, the change in y over the change in x. If the line passes through -1, 3 and 2, -2, find the slope. So, it does not matter which one you want to be your first ordered pair and your second ordered pair, but keep them that way. Okay, I'm going to say this is 1 and this is 2. So that makes -1 x1, and that makes 3x or y1, right? 2 is x2 and -2 is y2. We go in that order. -2 minus 3 over 2 minus -1. -2 minus 3 is -5. 2 plus 1 is 3. So my slope here is -5 over 3. We do not change this to a mixed number because the slope is a fraction. Okay, it's not a mixed number. All right, it wouldn't make sense if you said the slope was -1 2/3. All right, the only thing that makes sense here is that it's -5 over 3. Now, when we're finding slope, always go to the right. Say your run is always to the right. So if you look, does this go down 5 over 1? Well, if we started here and went down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should meet at 3 to the right. Okay, always go to the right for run. There it is. Is that right? So I went down 5 over 3. Okay, now if you have a graph, you can count it out. Okay, and you don't have to use this formula. But the formula is for when you don't have a graph. Alright, write this down. Find the slope. I'm going to say this is second coordinate and this is my first coordinate. So this is x2 and that's y2. This is x1, y1. Remember, okay, x2 is with y2 and x1 is with y1. You'd be surprised by how many people will switch this up. Okay, so we do y2 first, so 0 minus 5. Then we do x2, negative 2 minus 1. This gives me negative 5 over negative 3, which becomes 5/3. That's my slope. Any questions? Yeah, because they were both negative, right? Two negatives make a positive. Okay? If they're the same sign, then it becomes positive. All right, let's do the other one. I'm going to say this one's x1, y1, just to show you it doesn't matter what order you go in. Okay, so negative 3 minus 4 over 2 minus negative 3. It's just important that once you decide which one's x1 and which one's x2, okay, that kind of stuff, that you stick with that order. 2 plus 3 there on 5 on bottom, and that will give you negative 7. So that's my slope, down 7 over 5. Okay. Always treat the bottom number like it's positive, so you're always going to the right. So if it's negative, if it's a negative slope, that means it's going down. Yes. All right, Court wants to know if I was to switch, okay, switch the numbers up here to, let's do the first one, okay. Did I go x2 here? Is that what I did? Okay, well, let's go x1 there. Let me show you that it doesn't matter. See if we get the same exact answer. So we go, be 5 minus 0, and then we go 1 minus negative 2. Do I still get 5 over 3? Positive 5 over 3? Yeah. So does order matter? No. But here's what people will do. They'll do 5 minus 0, but then they'll do negative 2 minus 1. Okay? That would give you 5 and negative 3. Is that right? No. Okay? Do not switch. This number goes with this one, and this number goes with that one. So if you got 5 on top, 1 needs to be directly below it. Okay? Everybody understand? Okay, don't confuse those. Alright, write this one down. So, it doesn't matter. I'm going to go x1, y1, x2, y2. Again, like I just showed Court, it doesn't matter. Negative 1 minus negative 1 over 2 minus negative 3. That gives me 0 over 5. So my slope is 0. When your slope is 0, okay, it means that there's no rise. Okay? The run really doesn't matter. So when it's a rise of 0 or a slope of 0, it means it's a horizontal line. It looks just like that. Okay? In this case, to write an equation that would represent this, I'd write y equals negative 1. Okay? Because my y coordinate doesn't change. Okay? The x does. Any questions? All right, you won't have to do that on your homework. I'm just showing it to you. Okay? So you know what that looks like. Alright, write this one.
Did you say you don't want to write this?
Alright, so I'm going to switch my numbers up. I'm going to do x2, y2, and x1, y1. I've got 4 minus negative 3. Okay, and then I've got negative 2 minus negative 2. That gives me 7 over 0. Okay, in case you didn't know this, you cannot have 0 as a denominator. If you've ever tried to divide by 0, you'll get an error on your calculator. It is not mathematically possible. So what we do is we say our slope is undefined because there is no run to it. The rise can be a huge amount or it can be a small amount, but there's no run to it. It does not go to the left or right. So we say it has an undefined slope. If you were to see it on a graph, it's a vertical line, just like that. Okay, so if you write 7 over 0 or negative 7 over 0, okay, make sure, okay, that you write undefined. Okay, because that is all I can take. Okay, because that's the correct answer. All right. Any questions? I just want you to look at this. Okay, these are just a kind of, it's just a summary of slopes. Okay, if it's going to the right, okay, if it's going to the right and it's going up, we say this has a positive slope. Okay, you don't have to draw this. Okay, the more and more we practice it, it'll make sense. Okay, if it's going down and to the right, we say it has a negative slope. Right? I always go to the right. The reason for that is because I want my top number to be the negative or the, right, for this one. Okay, because if I went backwards, right, then my run would be negative and my rise would be positive. Okay, and I think that kind of confuses people sometimes. So I always say the top number is the one that's negative. So we always go to the right. This, okay, is a slope of 0. This is the undefined slope because it does not have a run to it, and you can't divide by 0. All right? Any questions on that? All right, so write this down. This is a problem where it's kind of backwards. It says you need to find value of r, which r is one of the coordinates on a line, and it has a slope of 1/3. So here's what I do: is I set up my slope equation, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and I replace with what I know. I know my slope is 1/3. I'm going to say r, okay, is my y2. So that makes -5 my x2. So I'm going to do r minus 4 over -5 minus 1. And then what I do is I solve for r. So I work out everything I can. 1/3 is equal to r minus 4 over -6. So then what I do, right, is I'm going to get rid of -6 on bottom, so I'm going to times everything by -6. Okay, that gives me -6/3 equals r minus 4, which what is -6/3? What's 6 divided by 3? 2. All right, and then I add 4 to both sides. What does r equal? 2. All right. And there's a couple different ways you can go about doing it, but that's the easiest way for me. Getting rid of the fraction underneath the variable and then solving for r. Okay? Can I plug in 2 and see if this works? Yes, and I encourage you to do so. What is 2 minus 4? -2, right? What is -5 minus 6? Or -5 minus 1? -6. Does this equal 1/3? Yes, it does. So what's got to be my answer? R equals 2. All right, here's your homework.